I didn't believe the stories at first. That's always how it starts. I thought people said things like that because they needed to explain discomfort, because silence makes humans desperate for meaning. The house stood at the end of Briarwood Lane, where the pavement cracked and the streetlights stopped working one by one. No sidewalks. No mailboxes after number 17. Just dirt, weeds, and the sound of wind rubbing branches together like dry hands. I arrived just before dusk. Late October, the air had that thin, metallic cold to it, the kind that sits in your lungs longer than it should. The realtor didn't come inside with me. She unlocked the door, handed me the keys, and said, "If you need anything, call before dark." I asked her what she meant. She smiled too quickly, then she walked away. The house had been empty for years. You could tell by the smell: stale wood, old fabric, something faintly sour beneath it. Not rot. Something more human. I stood in the doorway for a long time, listening. No traffic. No neighbors. Just the wind moving through the trees behind the house. The floors creaked under my weight, even when I barely shifted my feet. Not sharp creaks, slow ones, like the wood needed time to respond. I told myself it was just settling. The place was small. One story. 2 bedrooms. A narrow hallway that felt longer than it should have been. The walls were painted an off-white that had yellowed unevenly, like the house had been breathing for decades. I walked room to room, speaking aloud just to hear my own voice. "Okay," I said. It sounded wrong in there. Muted, flattened, as if the house absorbed sound instead of reflecting it. The bedroom at the end of the hall was colder than the rest of the house. I noticed it immediately. Not freezing, just noticeably colder, enough to make my skin tighten. I checked the vents, nothing unusual. The window faced the woods. No curtains, just glass and black tree shapes pressed close, as if the forest had grown up around the house instead of away from it. I didn't open that window. I don't know why, I just didn't. The first night was quiet. Too quiet. I slept on a mattress on the floor, my suitcase still unopened. Every sound felt louder because there were so few of them. No hum of appliances, no distant sirens, just the slow tick of cooling pipes and the sound of my own breathing. At some point I woke up, convinced someone had said my name. Not shouted, not whispered. Just spoken. Normal. Casual. I lay there, staring into the darkness, waiting for the fear to arrive. It didn't. Not yet. I told myself it was a dream. I went back to sleep. Days passed. I unpacked slowly, made coffee in the mornings, sat at the small kitchen table and watched dust drift through the sunlight. The house behaved. Mostly. Sometimes, when I left a room and came back, the air felt disturbed, like someone had just moved through it, but nothing was out of place. No footsteps, no voices. Just that feeling of being slightly late to something. The cold spot in the back bedroom never went away. I avoided it at first, told myself I didn't need the space, but the house had a way of narrowing around me. Rooms I used felt smaller over time, ceilings lower. Eventually, I started using that room as an office. The moment I sat at the desk, I felt it again, that sensation of interruption, as if my presence was inconvenient. Sometimes, while working, I would hear something behind me. Not a sound, more like pressure. A sense that if I turned around too quickly, I'd miss whatever caused it. So I stopped turning around. At night, the house settled into patterns. A soft knock from the hallway wall around 1:12 a.m. Always once, never twice. A faint sound near the back bedroom window, like fingertips brushing glass. Not scratching who's touching. I stopped sleeping through the night. I'd lie there, eyes open, waiting for the sounds to happen. And they always did. Repetition became its own kind of terror. Weeks passed, I stopped inviting people over. Not because anything dramatic happened, but because the house felt private. like it didn't want witnesses. Friends who did visit stayed briefly. They'd shift their weight, glance down the hallway, then make excuses to leave. One of them asked, quietly, "Does it feel heavy in here to you?" I laughed it off, but I didn't disagree. I started noticing things I couldn't obey Massa Road. The way the hallway seemed longer at night, how the air felt thicker after sunset, how the silence had layers. Sometimes, late in the evening, I'd hear breathing that wasn't mine. Not close, somewhere deep in the house. Slow, patient. I held my breath every time. Hustobi Sure. I found her name by accident. A box in the garage. Old papers. Utility bills. A single newspaper clipping folded too many times. Local woman found dead in her home. No suspects. No forced entry. Neighbors reported unusual behavior leading up to her death. Complaints about noise, about her talking to herself, about standing in the yard at night, staring at the trees. Her name was Eleanor. The photo was grainy, air eyes dark, mouth caught halfway between expression and emptiness. The address matched. My address? I didn't feel fear. Not immediately. I felt understanding. The house made more sense now. That night, the knock came earlier. 12:47 a.m. Same wall. Same place. I whispered, "Hello." The knock didn't come again, but the breathing did. Closer. From that point on, time behaved strangely. Days stretched. Nights collapsed. I began losing track of hours, sometimes sitting motionless for long periods without realizing it. The house felt attentive, as if it noticed when I paid attention back. Not walking, shifting, weight adjusting, always in the hallway, always when I was still. If I moved, they stopped. If I stayed still, they continued. Slow, deliberate, patient. One night I woke to the sound of someone standing beside my bed. I didn't open my eyes. I knew better. The air was cold, so cold it hurt. Something leaned closer. I smelled old fabric, dust, and underneath it, breath. Not on my face, just close enough to feel its absence. Then it stepped away. The sound of the hallway stretching to accommodate it. I stopped sleeping in the bedroom. I stopped using mirrors. Reflections felt unreliable. Sometimes they lagged. Sometimes they didn't match my posture. Once, very briefly, I saw someone standing behind me who didn't move when I did and never looked again. The house grew louder. Soft murmurs at all hours, not words. Cadence. Emotion without language. I'd sit on the couch, staring at the wall, listening to it speak without speaking. It felt like waiting for something important to be remembered. The cold spread. The back bedroom was unbearable now. I closed the door. The knocking moved to the door instead. Once, every night. At the same time, I stopped responding. I stopped resisting. I think that's when it realized I wasn't leaving. The dreams began after that. I wasn't myself in them. I was watching the house years earlier. A woman moving slowly through the rooms. Pausing. Listening. Waiting. Standing in the hallway, night after night, as something unseen pressed against her awareness. In the dream, she looked tired, lonely, and deeply, unbearably aware that she wasn't alone. I woke from those dreams feeling incomplete, as if parts of me had stayed behind. The house felt warmer then. Almost grateful, the final night came quietly. No warning, no escalation, just a sense of inevitability. The hallway was darker than usual. Longer. I stood at the entrance, unable to remember why I was afraid of it. The knock came from the back bedroom, but this time it wasn't on the door. It was on the inside. I walked down the hallway. Each step took effort, like moving through water. The air vibrated with something unspoken. I opened the door. The room was empty, cold, waiting. Then I felt it behind me. Not touching, not threatening, just present. An understanding passed between us. She hadn't left. She had stayed because the house remembered her. Because loneliness doesn't end when the body does. I don't know how long I stood there. When I finally turned around, the hallway was gone. The house had closed in. And somewhere, very close, someone breathed in time with me. The realtor called weeks later, left a voicemail. Said the house was quiet again. Said it felt settled. I never called back. I don't live there anymore. But sometimes, late at night when everything is still, I feel the air grow cold, and I know she's waiting, because her spirit never left this place.